Hey guys. So I went to the hearing this morning, and I have some notes. But when I say I have some notes, I have like I don't even know how many pages of notes I'm looking at right now. I mean, not every page is full, and there's a lot of my thoughts in the margin that I think I'm just not gonna read every single thing right now. So this is gonna be a little bit possibly disorganized because I have a flight in 4 hours. This is not gonna be super long because, like I said, I have a flight in 4 hours, and also I hope I can lay down for a little bit before that. Um, I've been busy, and then I just gotta get home tonight. I thought about staying till tomorrow, and I was just like, nah, you know what? I want to go to my bed, like my own bed. So I'm gonna be doing that. So we'll go over some of this stuff, and then I'll save some of it for tomorrow. Um, this hearing that we went to, so they were arguing about the motion for summary judgment, motion for judgment on the pleadings, and the motion for spoliation sanctions. A lot of the stuff that we saw, um, like this stuff that's come out on the docket, not everything was like going to be addressed. A lot of this stuff was like the law. They were talking about different cases. There was a lot of talk about, and I said this on Andy's stream earlier, like contracts and the ALA, CLA. And when it comes to that stuff, I'm not the most knowledgeable source, especially when it comes to like contracts and laws, like around contracts. So I can only tell you my perspective from an observer. You're not going to hear. It was a bit much with Andy shoving his mic in your face. Andy did fine. It was fine. Don't worry about it. Um, guys, let me know if there's a problem with the mic, but hopefully it's working. It's kind of a piece of crap. Um, but yeah, it's I forgot what I was even saying. Give me a sec. I got this. Mm, if it's cutting in and out, hang on. Seems audio's cutting in and out. If it's really cutting in and out, then I need to fix it first. Hang on. Well, some people say it's good, and some people say it's cutting in and out. So now I'm confused. I can try to Okay. Well, there you go. If it's cutting in and out, it might be a YouTube problem. Just refresh it. I did try to check it, but this mic has problems as well. So, all right. I can only give you my opinions as an observer. I'm not going to be able to give you like an interpretation of the law and what they were talking about as far as like the legal standard and what I think the judge is going to do. I really don't know. So, but I will tell you like what they were talking about and what some of my thoughts were, and then like I said, I will at the end, or not at the end, but tomorrow, come back and do this in a more organized way where I can present to you like my thoughts a little clearer. And I, like I said, I have a lot of notes in the margins that are like maybe not something I need everybody to hear right now. Like, one of them, I'm not even going to say what this was about, but I just wrote if a chicken nugget were a person. So like, you know what I mean? Some things don't need to be seen by everyone. So, yeah, but like I said, I have like there must be like a dozen pages here. So we got to the courthouse. I had a line sitter because I didn't know what to expect. This wasn't like a trial, so most people thought we would be fine if you just showed up at like 8 o'clock or whatever. Um, but I just didn't want to risk it. So I had a line sitter. Also, it's fucking cold. I had a line sitter, so I show up at 7:30, and lots of people there. And if you've never seen me in person before, I guess I probably should have warned some people. I'm awkward in person, more awkward in person. All right, but everybody was nice. No complaints about anything like that. They take your phone when you go in there. They give you like a chip with a number on it, and they make you check your electronics. So like my headphones, my earphones, and my I did see Shorty P there. Hello. My headphones and my phone, I had to put them in a locker. So you don't have your phone or anything like that. And when you get your phone out, you have to like dip. You have to leave. The attorneys were there. I only recognized a couple of them. I don't know what they all look like, so I don't know who all was who at one point. She had 3 attorneys who spoke. He had 3 attorneys who spoke. The only 2 people that I really recognized were Brian and Kevin. I've never spoken to Brian. I saw a couple of people were like interviewing him before, and then maybe they got to him after. I'm not sure. Interviewing him before we went in. and I was just like, I don't really know what to do. Because I'm very like reserved in a way that sometimes people wouldn't expect me to be if you've only ever seen me talk on YouTube. You know what I mean? So I was like, I don't know if I should I bother them? I don't want to bother them. You know what I mean? Do I talk to the attorneys? What would I even say to Brian Friedman if I walked up to him and started talking to him? Like, hi Brian. I've never received national attention for not getting a response from a man's email before. So thanks. I don't know what to say to that. You know what I mean? Like I no, I'm just kidding. Like I didn't expect him to answer that email, especially because it was a fucking PR question I was asking to a lawyer because I didn't understand how the process worked at the time. So I was just like, "Hello, sir. I'm requesting an interview with your client." Apparently, that's not how you do that. But everybody knew that that was unlikely, especially because Justin hasn't been doing press, and that was like a year ago. But when Blake tried to subpoena my Google account information, my location data, and all that, and my credit card numbers, and blah blah blah. I had to try to quash the subpoena in court, and so I had to file something on the docket. And I was basically saying, I've never talked to these people. I don't know why you think I'm in a conspiracy weird scheme with them. And Brian told Andy no comment and then told him he was handsome. That's funny. But no, I was just like, I've never seen or not seen or met or talked to these people. Like, I don't know why Blake Lively thinks I'm in a conspiracy with him. I just like don't like you. And then like I've never had any contact with these attorneys. And then I had to write. I just wrote something about how like this one time I emailed Brian Friedman. He didn't answer me back. Just letting you know, so nobody can accuse me of lying later on. I technically did initiate contact, but he never responded. So please quash the subpoena into my Google account, sir. And then, of course, she withdrew the subpoena. So it's like, let me just air my business out to everybody and then walk away, I guess. But that was a while ago. Anyways. So I did not want to bother him. I kind of like walked up there while they were recording it before he went in, and I, for like 2 seconds, got my phone out to record some of what he was saying, and then I was just like, you know what? I just don't know. I was like, I don't know how to handle myself. And then Kevin Fritz, I knew what he looked like already because I like obviously see a lot of his writing. And I know a lot of other people were like following him on Instagram or something, so I guess he came up as like one of those people you may know. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. I will, follow him or whatever. So I did, get to say hi to him or whatever, but don't subpoena me. It was like a very nice brief interaction about the Jags losing in the playoffs. Like, please don't subpoena my location data for that. You have my location data. I was at the courthouse, so yeah. Anyways, I didn't really want to. I try really hard to be, like I say, appropriate and everything. I think if you were watching Andy's stream earlier, you heard me say like I'm very reserved and kind of like stiff in a courtroom. This is not the first time I've been to a court hearing or anything like that. So I, even when the judge said a couple things that were funny, I was just kind of like, I would not laugh. I was like, I would think to myself, oh my God, that's funny. But I would not laugh. I would not smile. I would not do anything. I just sat there taking my notes. Like, please don't. I don't want to get in any trouble. I don't want to offend anybody or anything like that. Because I know I have been to a trial before where people laughed, and it was Laura Owen's case against Clayton Eckert, where people laughed, and the judge had to tell people to like stop it. And then she, got to play her little victim card because people were laughing and said like, see, they're laughing at me. And I was like, oh my God. So I do not react or laugh. What was the funniest thing he said? It was just kind of like the way he said some things. So the one thing I remember was Blake's attorneys, it might have been Ezra, it might have been Mike, I'm not sure, mentioned that then they're talking about the retaliation, the alleged retaliation, said that Justin Baldoni went to Colleen Hoover. They went to dinner, right? That Justin and Jamie went with Colleen Hoover, and they were like talking to Colleen about what Blake did, and then they were describing it from Blake's point of view as like they went to the best-selling author and like said all this thing about her and that she was like a narcissist and all this stuff, and then that was retaliatory. Um, and then the judge, at some point said, "Sounds like it wasn't a very effective retaliation campaign." Then, like, if that was part of a retaliation campaign, because they said Colleen was apparently so disturbed by this that she never spoke to them again. Um, and so he was like, "Yeah, sounds like it wasn't a very effective retaliation." So I thought that was funny. Um, there was something else, and I wish I could remember what prompted it. And when I have more time to look through my notes and stuff, I will give you more information. But like, he said at one point, it was just like the way he delivered it to Blake's attorneys. Are we not here because your client is bringing claims of sexual harassment? Um, People are asking if there are any Blake supporters there. So the thing is, I don't know who would. No, it was not the heated rivalry comment. I don't know who would like for people to know that they were there and who would not. So I personally am not going to comment on that. I will say that everybody was very polite. I mean, there's nothing bad happening. I know that I, said mostly in jest that I was afraid that somebody might come up to me and try to set me on fire or something. But like, no, everybody was polite, and it's like the people that I saw, met, interacted with, no problems. And frankly, like, I think that everybody should be able to show up to a court hearing like that. I think it's good. So I don't really mind if anybody's there because they think Blake's side of the story is true, or they think Justin's side of the story is true. I didn't ask. I didn't ask anybody that. Um, that's not, that's not really something that I was too concerned about. So, I think that, like I said, everybody should be able to participate in the public process. I think it doesn't really matter why someone's there. They have the same rights that I do. So I wasn't really concerned about that. It's just not my thing. Give me 1 second here to get a sip of water, guys. Okay. Let's see. People are asking if I got pictures. I got a picture with Andy, I think. Is that why you were cautious when I said hi? I didn't think you were gonna set me on fire, if that's what you mean. No, somebody came up to me and was just like, "Lauren," and I just kind of forgot about my surroundings for a minute. And I was just kind of like, "Sup?" Like, what? Did I do something? Did I get a parking ticket? Like, I didn't even drive here, but um no, so like I saw other people, but I wasn't taking lots of pictures. I didn't really do. I mean, you saw me on Andy's probably earlier, but I didn't do a whole lot afterwards. I was just kind of like, I want to unpack all this and go back to my room, unpacking my thoughts, but packing my suitcase because I have to leave here in an hour and a half tops to go to the airport. So no, I didn't get to go anywhere afterwards or anything like that. Um, because I have to go and I had to do a little bit of work while I was here. So on all that. But let's see. Somebody says, "Lauren, please don't bring negative energy to yourself like that about being set on fire." Listen, I've said way worse stuff, and I will continue to say way worse stuff. You just have to understand that it's mostly a joke. But there are crazy people out there, so I was a little concerned. But no, no problems, no problems. Um, let's see. So there was a lot of talk about the movie, being a romantic, sexual, kind of theme, and even abusive themes were in the movie. And of course, they said there was an intimacy coordinator available. The book, called for hot and sexy scenes. The lawyer called some of it like steamy and turbulent romance. I haven't read the book. I determined after listening to this description from Justin's attorney, I think his name was Bach. That was his last name, right? After listening to that description, I decided that I was going to read the book, not because I found it compelling, but because it kind of like it kind of brought me back to these continued arguments and everything that we saw that was unsealed, about Colleen Hoover saying, "Well, the movie didn't need to be like that," and everybody in my comments saying the book was smut. So and I was listening to him describe that, and I was like, "Listen, like I've seen the movie, so I feel like I have a really good grasp on what they're talking about when they talk about the scenes in the movie. I still don't have a grasp of like this book, right? And I've it's not my kind of book, but I'm going to read it anyways because I really do like to know what I'm talking about when I'm making statements and stuff like that. So no, I'm going to read it. I know it might be cringy, but listen, I mean I've read 50 Shades. Like I can, can handle the Colleen Hoover book. I didn't like that one either, but I read it because I was like, everybody's talking about this. I want to know what they're talking about. So I'm going to read the stupid book. I'm not going to like it, but I am going to be more informed and be able to give a more informed opinion on things because of it. So that is the goal. It's not to be entertained because I know I will not be. In fact, I'll probably be disturbed. But I'm going to read the book, okay? Um that book is 50 Shades of Sexual Harassment. Okay. You want a good book, read Fourth Wing. I don't want a good book. I don't want a good book. I want a book that's going to give me a firm grasp of the of the material that I'm reading in these documents and what they're complaining about. No, I will not read the book to you, Lori, but thank you for the suggestion. That is my nightmare. Anyways, so that was what Justin's attorney was talking about. He was talking about how the themes in that were calling for these, like hot and sexy scenes or whatever, and the judge would come in with some questions. They talked about this case, the Lyle case, a lot, and I don't know a lot about that off the top of my head, so I'll let you guys listen to whoever else was there, like the attorneys who were in attendance, talk about that one, especially when it comes to the case law. I'm not gonna have too much to say on that. Let's see. So one note I did make here that I'll tell you is like this guy, the attorney who was talking. I mean, I had no bad impression of him at all. There was nothing about him that like put me off in any way. So I want to be clear about that. Nothing that I inherently disliked about him, right? And I understand that this was a hearing. This wasn't like a jury trial. There was no jury there, right? And this was mostly about like law stuff. But I did make a note that if this were to go to trial, I would definitely have a female lawyer present some of the things that he was saying. I felt it would come off better that way. Not because anything was wrong with that guy at all whatsoever, but just like I was just thinking, like if this was in front of a jury, definitely gonna come better from a female attorney, to be honest. And I almost hate to say that because it's kind of like it sucks that like male attorney could do like an amazing, wonderful job just as well as a female attorney could do it, but it will come off so differently to an observer because some of the stuff that he said, because this was the same attorney who made the comment about the gay hockey players in the show. Like if you guys read about that, I forgot the name of the show, but right, there's two males who are having a sex scene together. He was the same one who said that, and so I don't know, for some reason when he was saying those things, I was like, this would, as an observer, if I were having to listen to evidence as a member of the jury or something, would come off better from a female attorney. It just would. I don't know why. I think maybe it's because these are inherently uncomfortable subjects for a lot of women when you're talking about work, and so when you're hearing it from another female, it comes across as less jarring, I think. And like I said, that's not how it should be, but it's how it is, to be honest. So, the heated rivalry. Okay, yeah, heated rivalry is what he mentioned. But yeah. Heated rivalry is based on a book? I didn't know that. I haven't even seen the show, man. So. Okay. So, they said in a typical office setting, these things would be inappropriate, like some of the stuff that Blake was complaining about. But, this was a movie set, obviously a movie about a romance and like sex and abuse, right? And so part of the creative process was adding these things into the script or talking about these things or acting these things out. So, yeah. Let's see what else did I put here? So when the judge was asking questions, he was pretty even. I felt he was even-handed, and I thought he was fair. Um, I thought the judge came across really well. I didn't have any thoughts that he was like leaning heavily in favor of anyone at all. Like I said in the beginning, he made some like kind of snarky comments, but I felt like they weren't like overly critical, and I don't know. I just felt like he was kind of making sense. So, for example, when we were just talking about the in a typical office setting, this is inappropriate, but because this was a movie about stuff that was sexual in nature, it's different. And the judge asked the attorney, you know, so this is a movie set with scenes of a sexual nature, but does that mean that he can touch her whenever? But then when Blake's side was arguing their points, he was asking questions like, saying it doesn't necessarily make sense that we would go to court every time an action is improvised in a scene like that. Like if he placed his hand somewhere on her back that he wasn't originally supposed to, do we need to go to court for that? So, and like I said, I have lots of notes, so we'll get more into depth on that tomorrow, but snarky comments are harassment now? I hope not. Hold on. Let's see. One point that they brought up that I thought was good was that, they're talking about how she raised the issues of circumcision and her weight that she complains about. She was the one who brought up the topic of circumcisions, right? So they were at her building, her place of residence, and she brought up the topic of circumcision. It was like talking about what to do if her baby was a boy, because she was about to have a baby. And then with the thing about her weight, they, pointed out that she was never supposed to hear that remark. And Blake's weight, hi Omar, what's up? Blake's weight was something, again, that she brought up. She was bringing it up because she was about to, again, give birth, and she was going to have, some weight that she wanted to take off. She was never intended to hear that weight remark. The trainer acted kind of, and this is me speaking, not them. The trainer acted unprofessionally, in my opinion, like extremely unprofessionally, in my opinion, in raising that to Blake. There was no fucking reason to relay that comment to her whatsoever. None. Like if he heard that and he was like, I don't want to tell you the weight of one of my other clients, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so don't. Do not answer the question. You don't have to then go and try to make a fucking dramedy about it. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of stupid. So yeah, so they raised the point that she was never intended to hear the remark about her weight. So it was stuff like that they were bringing up. They said that there were trivial grievances and petty slights that Blake was talking about against the Wayfair parties. The judge said that you do have to kind of look at the totality of the circumstances. Sometimes the little things can add up, and he was just, asking questions. He wasn't like making any decisions or anything like that, but that was a comment that he made. The Wayfair parties pointed out that there was no evidence that there was like any severe and pervasive, sexual harassment of anything of that nature. Nothing discriminatory, nothing that pit the genders against each other, nothing that was meant to alienate women. They mentioned that the apology, like they extended an apology in 2 days, issues were resolved, and no further occurrences happened. Let's see. They said the complaints were not ignored or minimized, so whatever complaints she raised, whether formal or not, did honk my meat get mentioned? No, Paul. So whatever, was brought up, like complaints that were made, sorry, let me look at my notes real quick. It was taken seriously. They responded effectively and immediately. It wasn't like brushed off. The behavior didn't continue. You know what I mean? Let's see. I would say also when Blake Lively was talking to Ange Giannetti from Sony, and she had a list of things that she was going to talk about that she was upset about, they mentioned, and this was one thing that stuck out to me, they mentioned that she She conveniently left out, and I think it was the thing about Jamie Heath in the trailer. I'm not positive. Let me check through my notes here. Um, okay. Dude, I swear to God, I have so many pages of notes. That's why we're not going to do it too thoroughly today. Um, NYC Lauren doesn't use that word. Does any of the okay? Does any of the evidence reference the word cunt? Actually, yes. Yes, it does. But it's not from me, so it's fine. All right. See if I can find this, dude. So I'm saying when I do put this out tomorrow, like whatever I'm able to come up with, it'll be something pre-recorded to where I'm not like fumbling around like I am right now. But I'm just kind of going with what I can with the time that I have. So while Lauren isn't looking, everyone convinced Lauren her hotel room is haunted. I don't need to be convinced. I already know. All right. Okay. Here's another side note that I wrote. Like somebody's like, I was like, hair is douchey, but makes good points. I'm not gonna say that was right either. Like, I'm sorry. No, seriously though, the attorneys were good. They were good. Um, I was just being ridiculous. If I could just find the part where I put a rebuttal on the top. Never look at someone while eating cookie dough. Right? Yeah. What about Ezra? I mean, Ezra was there. I don't. I don't. I'm not crazy about Ezra Hudson because of what she did with the subpoenas and signing off on that. I'm not crazy about the firm that signed off on Van Zandt, but Ezra Hudson doesn't occupy so much space in my mind that I burst into flames upon seeing her. You know what I mean? Like, she was just there doing her job, and I didn't bother her. Nobody bothered me. It was fine. You know what I mean? But yeah. I mean, of course, it irritates me when she says stuff like that's Me Too evidence because she said that at one point. And I was just like, can you just not do that? But of course, she has to. So, let's see. Okay, so here's another note. His attorneys were talking about the birth video, said it wasn't like sexual or arousing. They said that for that to be sexual harassment, it would have to be like discriminatory, not just annoying. So if it would be one thing if Omar's distracting me. It would be one thing if they showed her this video and there were like dudes cackling in the background, like, guys, look what I'm about to go up and show her. And then they go up and show a woman like this video of like a naked lady, right? So they say here it was a film about a birthing scene. That Heath was a producer. He also showed the video, which it's heavily disputed that there was a nude woman in there. Like it was the after the birth where they already had the baby. There was a family in it. No genitals were showing. So they said it was a film about a birthing scene. Heath is a producer. He also showed the video to men. That Blake is the female lead involved in the creative process. They said the trailer thing was a unique one-off situation that Lively admitted she knew Jamie Heath wasn't trying to cop a look because Blake's attorneys were making it sound like she knew for sure that like he was intentionally, trying to cop a look or something. Those aren't the words they used, but they said that, Blake Lively admitted she knew that he wasn't trying to cop a look. She permitted him to come in. It was awkward, but it wasn't a pervasive culture of abuse or severe. And that again, this. So here's the note I was looking for. She did not raise this trailer issue to Ange Giannetti when she was talking about her complaints. So this is something again, like and this is me talking, not the attorneys, but like this is something again we're seeing a lot of stuff from her that seems to be a retroactive problem or something that she never brought up at the time she filed the lawsuit or never complained about before that she's then later on saying this was terrible and triggering and awful and sexual harassment, right? But that's not exactly how it was described previously, when she, told Jamie Heath, "I know you weren't trying to cop a look." So, okay. What else we got here? When they were talking about the retaliation stuff or the defamation stuff, um, he said that, what's hold on, that her complaining about sexual harassment, that would be a protected act, but her going public through the New York Times, like leaking that to the New York Times, is not. And we know that, I know, sorry, I'm not talking for the lawyers, but for me, I know that she went to the New York Times and they were working on that well before the CRD was filed. So obviously, that was planned on. It seems very clear. I can't prove it, but it seems very clear that the New York Times was probably like, you guys need to go do this so we're protected if we report on it. You know what I mean? And then she went to do um, her complaint or whatever. Hey, Cassidy, what's up? Somebody said they all have lunch together. I don't know. I don't know what they were doing. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time, and I had to pack up and I had to work some stuff. I wasn't going to. I was going to try to take off work this afternoon, and I was like, no, I need to do a little bit. So I couldn't do anything afterwards, and I have to go to the airport when I'm done with this. So let's see. Okay. I'm trying to see what else we can talk about today. Because like I said, some of the stuff I'm gonna have to organize. Uh, my pages are like, I'm literally like pages and pages like this. Like when I take notes, like it's kind of like I was explaining this to somebody who was sitting behind me. It's kind of, for me, it's kind of like when you're a kid in elementary school and you're like highlighting in your textbook. Um, I used to just like highlight and I'd be like, I basically just highlighted the entire page. So I was sitting there basically writing down every single thing they were saying. And there was a couple of times where I had to stop and be like, I need to listen to this and not write it down. So yeah. The text between Taylor and Blake did not come up. There was a lot of stuff that didn't come up that's been making the headlines like this week because this stuff is just being released to the public. But it's like, this wasn't to talk about every piece of evidence, basically. So like, there's gonna be a lot of stuff where we have a lot of questions about what about this, what about that, where it's like, for the purposes of this hearing, this did not come up, and it was not really necessary for it to come up based on the goal, the objective of that hearing. So let's see. So when we start talking about like the ALA and the offer letter and all that stuff, like I didn't have too much written down because, like I said, that whole contract stuff is quite confusing to me actually. I did write here, make a note here. They said in regards to the ALA that like Lively took control and she set her limits. There was a lot of arguing about whether or not she was an employee, considered an employee, or if she's an independent contractor. Um, they said the PGA letter that she wrote shows she had control over everything. A regular employee wouldn't be speaking to Sony or, to the book author. Omar says my prediction is SH stuff is out and contract stuff goes to trial, and they say nah and settle. Huh. Let's see. Okay. They said Wayfair conceded every time she wanted something. I wrote down that Blake Lively's attorneys said that Justin Baldoni writing that he like was giving her 98% of everything she asked for showed that she didn't have control. I was just like, well, the other 2% was very well could have been Sony. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like it was Justin Baldoni who had the other 2%. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to see what else I want to talk to you guys about today because I have to go pretty soon. It's only been 35 minutes. I'm sorry about that. It's gonna be a short one, like I said. Okay. All that proves is they had a financial interest in the outcome, nothing more. Huh. I'm gonna have to make Omar listen to all my fucking notes because I swear to God, there's so much here. Um, why don't I read you a little bit about how Ezra Hudson described Blake's version of events here? And I have lots of notes on the side on this one. Like when they were talking, I found myself kind of arguing with myself in my notes here. So they said there's no evidence she leaked anything to the press, and I was just like, if I wrote down, I was like, yeah, she had someone else do it. But also keep in mind, also when I was listening to them talk about this, I was thinking, we're seeing all this stuff, communications from Wayfair and hearing about the Wayfair party tag Melissa Nathan, communications with um the media and all that, and then like articles coming out. What they did seems to be what everyone's PR does. And people online, I see them harp on this point of they were just monitoring. Okay, so the thing is, Jed Wallace, when they hired Jed Wallace, they're saying that Jed Wallace was only doing monitoring, only doing social media monitoring. They said that the other, PR actors, they were doing defensive measures. They weren't acting in a retaliatory way or in a defamatory way, but they were trying to defend Justin. So people will see messages between, Melissa Nathan, Jennifer Abel, whoever, and media contacts and think, oh my God, they did the smear campaign. No, all PR people do stuff like this. They all talk to the media. The only reason we're seeing this and it's being, talked about so much is because she's suing them for something that causes those communications to come out. You better believe her PR people are doing the same fucking shit. It's the equivalent of listening to freshmen regurgitate their professor's philosophical rants. What are you talking about, Omar? But anyways, you know that like her PR people are doing the same thing, but Wayfair is not suing her for like the same. They don't have a lawsuit against her, an active lawsuit against her, especially for the same claims that she's making against them. So they can't just like pull all of her communications from her PR people between them and media, is my understanding. I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong about that. But I'm kind of like, that's why it seems so one-sided. It's because it is. They're only getting evidence of that from one side. You're only seeing one side's PR stuff come out. And it's almost like brand new overexposure to how the PR world works. Was that Lauren talking off camera to Brian when Katie talks to him? No, I did not know how to approach Brian, so I did not talk to Brian. So I'm it's like people are getting insight into PR and how it works for the first time, and they're kind of jarred by this idea that PR people manipulate things the way that they do, and they all do it, but we're only seeing these people do it. And because of that, there's a lot of anger and negative feelings towards these PR people, because we're learning for the first time about this, and they are the targets or the object of that lesson, I guess, if that makes sense. So now you can see why my notes are so long, because I wrote down a whole like rant about that. Let's see. We got the 98% thing here. At one point they mentioned that like when they're trying to say that she was an employee, she didn't have total control. They're saying, but basically Wayfair could have said, no to things and could have hired a different actress. And I was like, at what point in time? And like that would have been potentially financially devastating, especially because, their studio had put so much into it. Sony put so much into it. It's not free to just start over with another actress. Like that's not free. That's not going to happen. Let's see. She says she couldn't go in and start doing things if Wayfair didn't permit it, but that's exactly what happened. And that's how she describes it in her PGA letter, is how she went in and took over everything. She even said in her PGA letter that she took over HR. So, and Cassidy says she would have sued them for replacing her for sure. I was like, yeah, she definitely would have tried to do something like that. I'm certain the picture on her wall tilted 6 to 8 inches to the left. Listen, I don't decorate this hotel room. And yes, my bed is messy. What, you want me to make the bed just so you can look at it? No. Screw that. Just look at my messy room, okay? Okay. Omar's trolling me today. I sent his dog a present. It was like a Woodford Reserve, like the whiskey, but it's like a stuffed dog toy, and apparently the dog hated it. I was like, you can chew on it. That's fine. Um. Okay. So they mentioned Blake not wanting to be pictured next to Justin at the premiere. One thing that stuck out to that they were saying it was like an informal protest, so that should be like part of the protected activity, I guess. Um, her saying that the complaining about alleged sexual harassment is protected activity, and the not wanting to be pictured next to her harasser at the premiere and shit like that. That is an informal protest, part of a protected activity. So that was something. Let's see. So the judge asked them, which I thought was a fair question as well, is accusing them in the press protected? Can the accused person then defend themselves in the press? Not the act of reporting reporting itself, but like going to the press and accusing these people of it. So that's supposed to be a messy room. Some of that they're psychotic. No, not really, not literally. It's a hotel room. It's fine. A hotel room that I'm about to leave, mind you. So because it's haunted. Thank you for that. Okay. Oh, there was one part. He was pressing on Ezra Hudson. The judge was pressing on Ezra Hudson at one point about that accusing them in the press protected. Can the accused defend themselves? He's asking for a case to Ezra Hudson for a case to show that accusing them in the press was protected activity, part of the protected activity, and she could not answer that question. And he pressed it a couple times, and she was like trying to kind of like word circle at one point. She wasn't like doing a bad job, you know what I mean? She just didn't have an answer. And then so she said, I can give you a statute. I can't give you a case. So what's the statute? And she said 47.1, right? Of course. So that's going to be a thing, of course. We know the 47.1 thing. Like this is its first kind of real test. So, but he was asking for a case, and she's like couldn't give him one because it's never really been tested before. So the thing that no one is saying is that Justin Baldoni was told by Sony to sex up the movie, put more sex into the scenes, etc. I'm reading a comment here, guys. So he was actually following their suggestions. I mean, I think that's a good point, and obviously something that I want to mention when I go over my notes a little more thoroughly tomorrow or something. But it's one of those things that this stuff had to be tailored to this hearing, and so there was only so much they could bring up in that time. I don't remember hearing that come up today. But I mean, I understand the point you're making, and yes, I agree. Let's see. So he was asking some questions about like the choreographing, and basically like where does consent fit in? Like what is the limit for what you can like basically improvise? For example, during the dance scene, so Ezra Hudson was saying the script only says they dance, but she said that Baldoni was like nuzzling and leaning and caressing and or whatever, and Blake was leaning away, and you could see her boundaries were crossed. My view of the dance scene and the view of the dance scene by Blake and her attorneys is very fucking different, obviously. Like, even if I watch that footage again, I guarantee you, like, to me, it appeared that she was being, I'm sorry, unprofessional. I know that a lot of people won't want to hear that if they're like not wanting to hear bad things about Blake, but like, why are you here? Right? So unprofessional. I thought she was being unprofessional. Um, I thought that she would not stop talking, would not take direction from the director. I thought that she wanted some things a certain way, and she really needed to just shut the fuck up and film the scene. It would have been over in like 30 seconds. Um, but honestly, there was nothing that going on in that footage at all that I thought made her look better or her story more compelling. Um, if anything, it shows that he did not, in fact, do what she accused him of, because she accused him of smelling her skin and saying it smells so good. You know what I mean? And what actually happened was like she got like some of her like whatever it was, spray tan perfume, whatever, on him, and he was like, "Oh, it's okay, it smells good." Like that's not a creepy thing to say. And then also she was, of course, at the end shaming him for having like a big nose or something. And I was kind of like, "Are you fucking kidding?" Um, but yeah, I remember that. So, um, okay, so speaking of something I just said about her being unprofessional, when they were talking about this, my feeling was, at best, as an observer, when I'm listening to all of this, and when I put together what I've seen, what I've read, and what I've heard, at best, I would call the set unprofessional, not hostile. And the reason I would call it unprofessional is because I, like most people, and most, if not all of the jury, will have experience with like regular traditional job settings. So yes, it could read as unprofessional, but when you describe it in the way, the context of how they describe it, it kind of changes everything. And then it makes me think, are you being unreasonable? And the answer is yes, a lot of the time, that she's being unreasonable. Um, with what she's alluding to as sexual harassment. Like calling a wardrobe sexy is not sexual harassment to me. Like I'm sorry, it's just not. If my boss came up to me and said, "Hey Lauren, your outfit's looking sexy today," I'd be like, "Do you have like a weird fetish for the Target men's section? Because that's like all I wear." But after that, I would then be like, "Hey, that's creepy." You know what I mean? But on a movie set where the character is supposed to be wearing sexy wardrobe, which these women were like cracking sex jokes right in front of him while they were working and all kinds of stuff, and they would say sexy, sexy, sexy. Um, and then they would complain that he said, you know, those pants look sexy or hot or whatever, the wardrobe for the character. So um, I would say that you could call it unprofessional, um, but because I don't work in the industry, it's hard for me to really say that with a lot of confidence behind it. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what a professional versus unprofessional film set looks like for a raunchy Colleen Hoover book. You know what I mean? One that I have not yet read, but will. Um, let me do something. Um, see if I can find what channel are they doing this on. I bet Little Girl Attorney doesn't have her redirect turned on, does she? Hold on. If she does, I'll send you guys over there. But if not, I'll just have to put the link in the chat. Let me see if I can do it. Somebody might have to teach her how to do that for next time. Because I'm gonna have to go in a minute. Yeah, it looks like she doesn't have her redirect privileges on, but what I can do is I'll put the link here for you guys and I'll pin it. So you can click on this link at the top of the chat. Hold on. Because the rest of these notes I'm gonna have to go over tomorrow. I have a flight that I gotta catch, and I want to lay down for like 30 minutes first. Let me read these super chats, and then I'll take off. How about that? Okay. Alexis Burton, thank you for the $1.99 super sticker. Appreciate that. CMBBY, I don't know how to pronounce that. Thank you for being a new member. Betty, thank you for the 5. Thank you, Lauren. Stay warm. Oh, I'm good now because I'm getting out of here. Thank you. Anissa, thank you for the 10. Thank you, Lauren. No, thank you. Big CO Music, thank you for the $10 super sticker. Hot Messy Express, thank you for the $5 for a book review. I'll give you the book review. I just won't read it to you. I'm not gonna read you the book out loud. Like, there's not a shot in hell. I might read passages from the books. Like, if you guys have any passages that you think would make me feel really uncomfortable, I would be willing to read them to you to like raise money for charity or something, but that's it. Otherwise, take a hike. It's not happening. Thank you though. Thank you for the 5 for the book review. I will like give you my thoughts on it after I read it. JT, thank you for the 5. I'm halfway through this book. This isn't even good smut. This shit is vanilla. Ugh, who bought these books? It's taken me a month. Well, thank you for that. Vincent Pleasant, thank you for the 28. It says thanks. Oh, thank you, Vincent. Never look at someone while eating cookie dough. I always make eye contact while eating cookie dough. Thank you for that, Kate Bella. The unsolicited opinion, thank you for the $2. McDonald's, McNuggla, and McBooze 90s Nugget people? Huh. I've never heard those words before. But okay. Tom Stansfield, lovely Lauren, great work. Hugs to the doggo, Mr. Huffy. Thank you very much. I'm gonna go back and see him. So Ellie J or LJ, I'm not sure. Thank you for the $5. Probably missed this, but what was your first impression of the lawyers and the judge? Were they like you imagined? Yeah, I mean, pretty much, yeah. I mean, I didn't really have too much expectation, but yes. Let's see. Thank you for that, by the way. Hot Messy Express, thank you for the $10. Look into her interviews and experience with respective female director producers, Barbara Broccoli, and read. Is Barbara Broccoli a real name? It's fucking awesome. And read Mortino. It's play-by-play, same thing she did to them in interviews, Freudian slips all over. Huh. Okay. I'm gonna have to look into that. Thank you very much. And Gilda, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Appreciate you. All right. How was your coat? I had a jacket that did okay. I had to get new shoes though, because the shoes that I was wearing, I was like, "There's no fucking way." Come on, Lauren, you can do it. Just take a long shower afterwards. Oh, shut up, Professor. Okay. All right, guys, I'm sending you over to Little Girl Attorney. There's a link pinned in this chat, but I'll post the link right here for you. Be sure to tell her that I sent you and said hi. She's going live with Not Actually Golden. And thanks, everyone. And Omar for the distracting chats. Like I said, I'll get more into this stuff tomorrow when I have time and I'm back at my desk. But I'm just like trying to not rush to the airport. I want to just take a breather. So thank you, everyone. I will see you soon. Bye.